So let's talk about the Reacher book called The Enemy. I'm going to tell you what I like about it and what I don't like as much, and kind of how it compares to the other Reacher books that I've read. So what have I read before? Well, most of the books before this in the series. This is number 8. I know I skipped one for sure, and I might have skipped 2. So this is either number 6 or 7 that I have read. So The Enemy. And by the way, no major spoilers. No major spoilers. So you could certainly listen to this and then read it afterwards. Just going to talk in general without like saying anything specific that happens in the plot. So the first thing that jumps out about this book is that it goes back in time to 1989. And feel free to fact check me on anything I say, but I believe it was 1989. So it predates, I think, all of the previous books in the series. So far, this is the first one chronologically of the ones that I've read. So it goes back to 89. Reacher's in the military, because of course in some of the books he's already out of the military. And at the time, he is planning to stay in the military. So he's kind of more idealistic. He's kind of less hardened and a little less savvy because he's not as old or as experienced, that kind of thing. He's planning for life in the military. And, it's not really a spoiler, but during this book, some things happen that sort of change his outlook, maybe causes him to change his mind on that. So the timeline is super interesting from that standpoint. It jumps out, and it's something unique compared to all the other Reacher books that I've read. So what's good in this story? What's not as good? Well, it's cool that you have kind of his background and his backstory built up a little bit more, and you get a little more connection with his family in some ways, like his brother and his mom, and a little connection with France, the country that his mom is from, and some experience in France. So all those things are kind of cool. And it's cool how it's in this book, it connects with some of the historical events of the day, including the fall of the Berlin Wall, and then some stuff going on in Panama with Noriega and that sort of thing. So all that's pretty interesting. This book has some cool action, but I'd say it's less than some of the other ones I've read, so maybe about an average amount. Some good action moments and some fights and some intrigue and whatnot. Now, what do I not like as much about this book compared to some? I think the plot is a little scattered and sprawling. Like there's a lot of different parts to keep track of, and they get connected at the end, but it's still kind of an awkward connection in some ways, in my opinion. So it's a little different kind of plot because it covers kind of more people and more space, and then some of the plots that are a little more straightforward in terms of a smaller group of people or what have you, that's a little easier to kind of see how they fit together. So I enjoyed the book. I would put it about the middle of the ones that I've read. There's some that I liked better and some that I didn't like as much. I would put it kind of in the middle. But I think it was a fun read. There were some fun characters, not quite as fun as one or two that I'm thinking of from some of the other books, like Polly in Persuader, for example. But it did have some fun characters, some cool moments, some variety in terms of their backgrounds, like people with a Southern accent talking to people with a French accent and stuff like that. And I listen to the audiobook usually, so that's my perspective with where they're doing the different accents and stuff like that. So overall, I think it's a fun book if you like the Reacher style, the Reacher series, with the caveats that I mentioned. So I'll be back soon with some other book reviews. Stay tuned. Talk to you next time.